Hello, everybody. Welcome to our high school OT webinar series presented by Bojangles. I'm Nick Stevens, managing editor here at High School OT. And tonight we have a rather interesting topic to talk about, I think, social media and how high school athletes and programs and teams can better use social media to get in front of their audiences and gather more attention for their teams. And we have a good panel tonight that I want to go ahead and bring in here. Evan Molesta is at the top of the screen. Evan is in charge of social media for not just the Millbrook basketball team, which a lot of people watching tonight will know him from, but also the Carolina Mudcats. Obviously, Evan does a lot of good work with Millbrook that a lot of people know about. And at the bottom of your screen there, Gabe Henderson. You may remember him if you are a longtime high school football follower in the Triangle, former quarterback at Southeast Raleigh High School. Now, Gabe has like 3 titles, I think, right? Like host, analyst, and producer with the Minnesota Vikings Entertainment Network. So we appreciate both of you guys joining us. Matt Suter from the Carolina Hurricanes is hopefully able to jump on here in a few minutes. He is in charge of the social media there for the local NHL team. So we got a good panel tonight. I'm going to toss it over to both of you first, though. And Evan, I'll start with you. Just talk about some of what you do with the Carolina Mudcats and at Millbrook, and what you think high schools can get out of using social media.
Yeah, so glad to be here, Nick. But got started with the Mudcats in 2017. I manage all of their social media platforms, so that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then I also oversee all the multimedia production with the Mudcats. So that is our live streaming broadcast, our video production in stadium, the content that goes up on the in-stadium video board, and then any digital content that goes online. And obviously was able to get that through starting off doing stuff over at Millbrook High School, both for the athletic department and then for the basketball program there. I've been doing that now since about 2012-ish. And I love that. Just love creating content over there, doing creative things, and constantly finding ways to stay on social media trends and just create really fun, engaging digital content. I think it's really important with the era that we're in right now, with everything going digital nowadays. Social media is your quickest, most broad, and most unified voice that you can have right now, especially with this generation, this Gen Z. And it's a voice you can have beyond the walls of your school.
Gabe, you're doing a whole bunch of digital media stuff right now in the NFL. This is your second NFL team you've been working with. So
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are in the warm weather of Minnesota, as you were telling us before we came on, and what your day-to-day job looks like.
Yeah, it is about almost -15, and it's not Celsius. So, yeah, it's pretty cold up here. But I started out with WRL back in 2015 and then got a job in the digital media department at Liberty University. I played football there. Like you said, I played football in Raleigh, also at Southeast Raleigh. And then once I got to Liberty, after I graduated and got from WRL back to Liberty, I started working in the media department, refining some of those skills. And then from there, couple of, luck and prayers later, I got a job with the Washington. They were the Redskins at that point, and was a producer there. So doing some stuff with them as far as just all of their branded content, whether that was producing content or I ran the social media during the Pro Bowl 2018 and both 2019. So it was a pretty much in Washington, it was a pretty much hands-on type of thing, all hands on deck type of deal. So got some valuable experience there. And then fast forward to April 1st of this year, I got a job with with the Minnesota Vikings, and came in as a producer. My role switched more so to being on camera more. So hosting our daily training camp show this offseason to I do a plethora of things on air for the Vikings, and there's some editing involved also. But I feel like I've done so much with both teams that have been very, very, very beneficial to the success of my career and just the success of some of the things that we've done as far as the team. So I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to share hopefully some knowledge and some key points, and looking forward to whatever you guys have in store tonight.
So I'm going to just talk a little bit about how we're going to have the structure tonight. There's different audiences I think we're going to be talking to. Obviously, the athletic directors, athletic programs as a whole is an important part. We'll spend a lot of time on that. We'll talk about social media for athletes, and we'll talk about how you guys go about creating content for digital and social media. And I think sometimes we say social media, but digital media and social media have basically become the same thing. And all the different platforms that are used, though, are so different. So we'll do that. And if people have questions, feel free to drop them into the comments box. If you're watching on the Twitter or Periscope or Facebook, you can just comment on the video. We'll get to your questions if you have any and answer them as best as possible. So let's start off just talking about athletic programs as a whole. And, I know for high schools, obviously, they don't have the same resources that you guys are going to have with a minor league baseball team or obviously in the NFL. But it's still a very important thing, I think, for high school athletic programs, the high school sports teams to have presence on social media. And Evan, you've been doing this for a long time with Millbrook. And if people haven't looked at Millbrook's men's basketball account, I recommend that they go take a look. The schedule reveal that you did was really awesome. Maybe I'll pull that up here in a minute while you're talking. We can show it to them. But why do you think that social media is so important for these high school programs? What do they get out of it?
Well, I think for our kids, first off, Nick, it's a really fun way to highlight and give access to what they do. Nowadays, with the way social media is, a lot of Division I sports programs, a lot of individual programs are starting to completely shift to having people on staff who run their social media and have a dedicated social media presence for them, because that's how fans connect to the program. That's how fans connect to the kids. And for our kids, it's, we really pride ourselves in being a players program. And so giving complete access on social media, treating these kids like rock stars. I mean, this is high school athletics, and there's so many lessons learned and there's so many experiences to be had. And not every kid's going to get the chance to go on and play at a big time university and get that treatment. And so to be able to give it to kids at this level, at the high school level, both junior varsity, varsity, I think it's really neat. It's very unique and it's really special to them. And it also, it goes beyond the kids. It goes to the parents. It goes to the families, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents. Everybody can kind of keep up with what they're doing and follow along with their kids. And then down the road, once they do get older and they get to a point where they can look back and reflect, then this kind of acts as an archive of content that they can say, yeah, back when I was in high school, like, here were my highlights, or these are some photos of me. And it's a nice way to archive that.
Gabe, when you're talking about the NFL, I mean, I don't know that there's a league that gets more coverage across the board than the NFL does. The ratings and stuff are always really good for the NFL. Why is social and digital media so important for an NFL franchise when they're already getting, coverage from ESPN and CBS and Fox?
Yeah, I think the NFL is all about amplifying the players and having the opportunity to amplify the players certain players on the team that, some of the unsung heroes. I think that goes a long way. You see these big time networks like ESPN, Fox, NBC, they'll cover the stars, your Lamar Jacksons or whatnot, but there are, 50 other players on this roster that contribute to the team's success. So any chance that, a team could amplify a guy on their roster or a couple of guys on their roster that don't get a lot of success, that only brings in more fans, because a lot of content now is more personality based. People want to be able to connect with the players. And I feel like, your Bleacher Reports and ESPN's, like, while they do a good job of that, of, trying to find the story, they usually grab that from the team. So our job is just to make sure, hey, this is who we are. Take from what you want to help amplify what we're doing. But our job is to make sure everything stays even keel, because everybody wants to know, like, what's going on. What can we do to continue to build this brand of this player or this athlete? And there's so many stories on every different team that the big brands could take from. So anytime we could get a message out there hey, well, this is our offensive line, or hey, this is the best fullback in the league. Like we're gonna do as much as we can, because there are so many other stories that could like bring into this, that can basically come into, you know, one. And I feel like there's so many opportunities that we have just using our social media brand, but we have to be very specific in how we do it. So it's a strategy for sure, but it definitely helps having those, you know, big time networks buying into some of the things that we do.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, just running high school OT, there's times we take stuff off of social media from teams too. And use it. I mean, we do it. We've done it with Evan and Millbrook. He'll have something like, "Hey, can we have that for high school OT?" You know, that's something that wouldn't happen if there's not that social media presence. And you know, I think a lot of it also is important because the teams and the programs can kind of control the messaging on that as well. How important is it for when you're running a social media account for an entire team or a franchise, or in the case of people watching this, it would be for a high school athletic department. How important is it to control that message and to, you know, get what you
views of the athletic department and the morals of that. And I feel like you have to kind of reflect the culture that you have.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the brand, you kept saying it, like the branding is everything when it comes to social media, because there are so many people that want to be a part of what you know, believe in or what you tweet about. So like making your platform or, you know, what you say specific to your brand only, you know, amplifies what you do. So I agree with that. And it's very important to have, you know, a brand or certain things that really stand out to you, certain things that you want to get across, like, you know, your cadence of, you know, how you're saying things, when you're saying things, what you're saying. I think that's key, especially in high school sports, because people just want to be a part of something. And then when you have a brand that means something, even if it's unique, you know, maybe like the blue, you know, Millbrook, you know, like there's something about it. It's just like, okay, I want to be a part of that. Or when you're going to school there, it's just like, okay, well, this is who we are. Like this is, and people get behind that. So I think it's very important to stay true to your brand, and just be unique while doing so.
So there's a lot of social media platforms out there, and this is something we deal with at High School OT, is trying to balance, you know, where we spend all of our time, because, you know, in addition to social media, we have our actual platforms that we own, where we actually, you know, make a business. So how do sports teams decide what platforms to focus on, and what are some of the pros and cons of all these. I mean, obviously you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have Facebook, but you've got TikTok, is growing. YouTube, obviously, important for video. Snapchat's out there, although a lot of brands seem to be getting away from that. How do you decide what platforms to focus on, and what do you put on these platforms? Gabe, I'll let you have that one first.
Yeah, just from I think whenever I produce a video or if I do something, like I'm always in contact with our social media manager of like, okay, where does this content belong? So like longer form content, we usually put that on Facebook, where if we're trying to story tell or do something from a feature side of things, Facebook is the go-to for that. If we're just trying to, be quirky, have a little fun, be who we are and like try to build our brand of like, hey, this is what we're saying, this is what we're tweeting. Well, I just said it. Twitter is for that. And then Instagram, we try not to put interviews on Instagram at all. We try to make that just fun, one by one. So basically the box content, because we know people like their content like this now, vertically rather than horizontally. So it just depends. It's like, okay, is this
unless you're me, I still like it horizontally.
Well, I guess like Evan said, like Gen Z, Nick, I think we can all agree we're getting up there in age. So, but
I'm older than you, so.
But I think like knowing who you're trying to get your message across to is very important. Like I think the younger generation is on Twitter and Instagram, but your people who love, the long form storytelling, that's your Facebook and your Twitters, and knowing how to decipher between those two. I just remember like a quick story at the Pro Bowl last year, we did a feature on our punter, and well, it's like like a GoPro type deal. So we basically had him strapped up with the GoPro, catching. He was a place kicker also. But, once I produced the piece, I'm like, man, like this is a 3-4 minute video. Like this would be great for Twitter. And our social media manager was like, yeah, let's put, a 30-second clip out on Twitter, but let's change the aspect ratio for Instagram and make it full, like make it a full video, because like it's in your face, it's more personable. So it like I said, it all depends on who you're trying to get your message across to. And I think that's always the forefront of the conversation when you're trying to figure out, okay, where does this content belong? Like, okay, well, this content belongs to who I'm trying to portray it to. So knowing who your audience is key when it comes to posting on which platform.
Evan?
Yeah, I definitely think it depends on who your demographic is. If we're talking about high school sports, it's going to definitely appeal to that age 14 to about, I would say 24, that high school college age. And then you also have the side of it, which are the parents and the families. I think the most all-encompassing platform for them is Twitter. I think for messaging, marketing, digital content, it has the most diverse amount of followers, and it has the most amount of tools that allow you to interact with them. I just think Twitter is kind of like a Swiss Army knife when it comes to posting content. And personally, I've discovered that Instagram right now, if I was to suggest an app right now or a platform right now for a high school athletic team or department to get on, it's Instagram. That's where the kids are. A couple of years back, they were all on Twitter. They're on Instagram now. I think kids have Twitter accounts right now, and they use them to just scroll through and get their news updates and check things. But if you truly want your kids to engage and share your message and interact with you, and you want the full social media experience, then I would really look into having a presence on Instagram. That's where the engagement is. That's where you can make your money with your student body, and then also with your parents. I think parents and faculty are more on Twitter, and then they're on Facebook as well. This summer, I started up a Millbrook Facebook account just to try to see what that could do. And it hits a lot of alumni and parents and family. And we kind of have a similar demographic with the Mudcats right now, where, if we want to post more long form, or we need to make announcements, something that's more formal, we're going to do that on a Facebook and a little bit on Twitter. And then Instagram is completely for the aesthetic and the view and the personality. And that's where you can have your most fun, because people are just scrolling through really fast and looking for that eye-catching content. And then, as you had mentioned, Nick, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat. I use YouTube a little bit for Millbrook, mostly because I do produce a lot of video content there. So it kind of works as that archive that I was talking about earlier. I'm not too big on like following and keeping up with the analytics of how our YouTube is doing, but it's nice for kids to go back and search their name or search their teammates and watch highlights and things like that. And then obviously TikTok right now it's the hot app, but it's a very niche market if you're looking to get into it from a high school sports perspective. You see professional sports are all over it and college sports are adapting to it. But I don't think it's suited quite yet for a high school athletic department or a team. But I would say it would be really good for some athletes out there. If you want to help build a personal brand for yourself, get on there, start posting your highlights, show your personality, give people access to who you are as an athlete. I think there was a kid up in Michigan who posted like a dancing video in the locker room, and everybody knows him now as like number 7. And now he has millions of followers because everybody's like, yo, number 7 can dance. And so like it's a huge TikTok trend that number 7 is like that guy. And so it all started because a kid posted a video of him dancing in a locker room. So
we're going to get all kinds of comments from coaches now about HighSchoolOT telling people to dance in the locker room.
I love the app. I think it's amazing. It's helped us immensely at the Mudcats. We found a lot of success with it. But yeah, I don't think it's right now the app to use, but it's definitely trending in the right direction. And I think for individual followers, individual athletes, you're probably already on the app if you're an athlete, but there's some strategy behind it that you could really find some benefit to.
You know, one of the challenges that high schools are really facing right now with the pandemic is they can't have fans at games. So they're trying to find creative ways to raise funds and keep things flowing financially. Are there creative ways on social media to do some of that, whether it's selling apparel or, a lot of them are selling online streaming subscriptions now to their events at home. Are there ways to do things like that for high school athletic departments and booster clubs looking to make some extra money right now during COVID?
Yeah, I think, I mean, virtual events are probably the number one go-to that I could probably say is like for advice. Like maybe having like hey, this is a virtual event and we're raising such and such. Like maybe this is, I think there are so many other than, marketing and trying to sell apparel. Like I think there are creative ways that you could get things across, like have giveaways or, hey, put your name in a bucket, maybe put $5 here. I think there are some creative ways. Since I'm not as involved in the high school realm, I don't know like the actual, if I can come up with, hey, this is 1 and this is 2, this is 3, this is what you can do. But I do think just from working in Minnesota, like some of the youth things that we do, like we have like, guest speakers, or we'll have like, a player or something. So maybe Naheem Hines comes back for Garner and, hey, this is a $10 event for anybody who wants to join, and there'll be some giveaways here if you join. Certain creative ways to use some alumni to help, raise awareness for the program and give back a little bit. I think that's probably the number one thing that comes to mind as far as like adapting. I mean, I know this is a very unprecedented year.
Yeah.
But just with that, I think there are some brainstorming opportunities for virtual events to help. I wouldn't say get all the money back, but I would say probably retain some money. Yeah.
You're not going to recover missing a football season worth of gate money. That for most schools anyway. That's really going to hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're an athletic director right now, take a look at what you normally do in a year with your booster club and figure out ways that you could be creative and make that digital. I've definitely seen, while this isn't a digital asset, I saw Apex High School did the cardboard cutouts and advertised that, and they put it in their gym. I thought that was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
But also look at your live stream. I know a lot of these schools now have these cameras that are set up to live stream indoors. Look at ways that you can take the advertising signs that you have, whether you have signs out in your football stadium or signs in your basketball gym, or put them up against the wall, put them in front of your camera, put different things in different places, and think about ways that you can digitally advertise. I know at the Mudcats right now, we're looking at ways that any content that we post, how can we put an ad on it, and how can we help fulfill some of these sponsorships that we may have lost out on in 2020. And it could be something that even on your live stream, you could have a logo on your live stream, and you could have different shout outs on your social media. And it's just a matter of trying to get out and talk to these sponsors, see what they want. But I think my biggest advice for, if there's a thing that you should do right now, or a thing that you should think right now as you're trying to navigate through this COVID season, it is definitely find ways that you can provide access to what you have in your athletic department. Access wins. Access is giving people a behind the scenes look. Access is presenting things to people that they wouldn't normally see. And right now they're not normally seeing games. So,
and that's kind of where I was headed next with this is, I know both of you are dealing with this right now. There's either no fans or a very limited number of fans at games. So, I think that obviously presents some challenges for sports teams, but it presents some opportunities for people like us who are creating content, because now we're creating content that people of things that people can't go to.
Right.
So ideally their interest would be driven higher. What do you think people who run, whether they're coaches or managers or athletic directors or booster club members, what should they be doing? What type of content should they be looking to create on social media to enhance that aspect of things and bring people in when they can't be there physically?
Yeah, I think access is definitely the backbone of both the Mudcats and the Millbrook content that I produce. I think it resonates so well with people because it is taking them into a place that they aren't normally. So if the Mudcats win and I'm in the handshake line after the game, that's a place a fan can't be. If I'm in a locker room at Millbrook recording a pregame speech or a celebration or something like that, that is a place people wouldn't normally be. So without fans in attendance, you got to look at what you do on a day-to-day, especially during game day situations, and say, what are people missing out on? And then give the people what they want. I think more so than ever, it's going to be very paramount to post photos or videos and highlights, but also keep people updated with your final scores and what athletes are performing well. Different things like that. I mean, putting out your scores, updating your max preps, different things like that. People always joke about it in the high school world on Twitter, but that's a very real thing that people are not going to be able to see in person now. And so if you're able to present that to them, you're going to really succeed well when you do that. I think definitely at bare minimum, post your scores, post your highlights, hype up your athletes, give them some love. They love that. They love sharing it on their social media when you post about it. It doesn't have to be some earth-shattering photo or video. It just has to be you showing them that they care and they want to show their friends, hey, I play at this high school. Like, this is me. They love that type of stuff, and they love to share that type of stuff. So help do that, and then help provide access to these families and these parents that aren't going to be in the stands like they normally would.
Yeah, Gabe, you're really good at giving people access. You put them in golf carts next to people in your interview.
Yeah, that was a way. I feel like most of the content that I do is trying to bring some of the players' personalities out. And I feel like just from me having played football my entire life, and some of the guys that I've talked to, I had the opportunity to play against them in college, or I've known them at whether I was training or not. So I've kind of used that to my advantage and the team's advantage to actually, hey, well, look, a lot of these reporters, that work for outside media companies, these players aren't going to trust them as much. So having that, inside access, even like Evan, like, you have that access of, hey, I see you every day. So there's like the smoke screen is out the window. Like, you don't, like, the trust is already there just from actually seeing the person every day. So I think if you are a creative, or if you are, AD or whatever, like, I would use that to my advantage. Like, that's huge. So like you talked about the golf cart, like that's just like, dude, look, we're going to have a conversation. I know we can't talk about everything, like everything that just happened in the locker room right now. But look, there are a lot of cool things we can talk about right now that people will probably tune into. And I think that's what a lot of, teams are trying to do is like, all right, what can we do in addition to the access that we're giving them, of like showing them a stadium or showing, a field game painted, like what can we do with our players to show that we care? And I think, some of the player messaging, some of the coaching messaging, I think that's huge and that's key, because a lot of these fans, even in high school, like, you cheer for a team, but everyone has a favorite player. So if your favorite player is talking opposed to the athletic director, more people are going to tune in. So like Evan said, buying into that player, promoting them a little bit more, using them for certain messaging, I think that helps. And access, like you said, access is king. Like if you can give people access to what they're missing, I know that's something that we have, pounded this year. Is like, all right, well, we know we can cover the X's and O's, but like, what can we do that is like restriction free that can give fans more access? So like giving players GoPros, like actually, giving them inside look, if you can't be there, giving them like certain cameras or certain angles to do certain things that people may not be able to see, even if they were at a game. So I think this 2020 has made our jobs a lot more interesting, but at the same time, it's given us a little bit more of a creative freedom, because we have a little bit more leverage now of like, hey, you have to watch this content if you like this team. And you're giving me your trust to basically say, all right, I'll help you out here. Like I'll show you who your favorite player is. I'll show you what shoes he's wearing. And that goes a long way. So building up these players' brands while, showing their personality is key.
I think one of the reasons that some people are hesitant about social media is the bad side of it, that, you're going to be out there and there are going to be people who don't like you or disagree with you, and they're going to let you know about it. And I know all of us have probably dealt with that at some point. I know I have regularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. What do you say to people who might be struggling with how to deal with that when, you get a direct message from somebody who's, being rude, or they're responding to your tweets, telling you, you need to fire the coach, or that quarterback, Gabe Henderson, all he does is throw interceptions. What
might be true.
What's your advice to them on handling that? Gabe, I'll start with you on that one, since I
think you tell your quarterback to stop throwing interceptions first and foremost, and then from there, I think you got to remain true to yourself. I always hold myself to is, was I honest? Like at the end of the day, even if I offended someone, was I honest in doing so? And was it okay? Like, was I honest in doing so, and was it okay to do so? And I think, no matter what you do, people are going to disagree. So I think if you're honest with yourself, honest with your posts, honest with what you're trying to convey to your fan base, sometimes you might have to take 2 bad messages to, please 60,000. Like I think people would take that ratio any day of the week. So, there are some things that you have to be mindful of. At the same time, like you can't be tone deaf. So I think for us, or even Evan, like, if we lose a game, we can't, stay positive the entire time. I think you have to just say like, all right, final, like this is the score. Like just be true. Like just be true to yourself. And I think from there, like whether people will be mad or not, at least you were true to your brand, true to yourself, and you don't have to sacrifice anything in the process. Like you can wake up tomorrow and be okay.
And sometimes you win those games and the Panthers get really mean tweets sent to them. Evan?
Yeah, I definitely think it goes back to who you represent, especially at the high school level. You're representing a team or a athletic department or a school. I've seen some accounts in the past and seen some people. You got to be careful how you navigate through some of these negative messages, and people can get really emotional when they see them, and they can get kind of sensitive to it, and it's something that you have to watch. And a big piece of advice is, if you're a head coach handling a situation where you're seeing something like that, handle it as you would handle an in-person matter. So if it's something that you deem that you can handle on your own, handle it in a professional manner. If it's something that you might need a little bit of help with, go to your athletic director. If an athletic director, you need some help navigating through it, handle it as you would within the walls of the school, go to administrator. But if you're somebody who's not in that position of authority, I would say be very cautious how you navigate through that. Don't try to take it into your own hands. I don't think, very rarely would I ever post something, I think, to a Millbrook account that I would think might toe the line or cross the line, or especially during this COVID age of like, I do it even when kids get scholarship offers. Like, I'll text our coach Chris Davis and say, hey, like, I'm not going to say a kid got an offer until you tell me he got one. And that's not because I don't know or I don't believe that a kid got one. It's like, I just want to go up the chain and make sure I check off my boxes. So I know if Eric Vanderheiden gets an offer from Louisville and somebody says something crazy about it, or, hey, that's not this, that's not that, I know that I did my job as the one who manages that social account. And I checked with the people above me to make sure, hey, like, I'm cool posting this right now.
Don't follow my league, because sometimes I engage in them just to kind of get under the more.
Especially in minor league baseball. Minor league baseball is more playful, and we have to have more of a fun personality. So there are definitely times that I will clap back or snap back at somebody. I don't recommend it for high school.
No,
it is kind of fun.
But I think it's great though.
Sometimes
I think it's great because it shows that the fans are passionate. Like we've always said, like if nobody's commenting on anything, like that's when it's a problem. Like, all right, well, like whoa, like we might need to realign some of the things that we do. Like people are passionate, and I think, you know, like Evan said, having a presence or working with the team, I think there's a great way to. There's a lot of opportunities to clap back in a fun professional way. Like people love that. Like that's how you build your brand, because we all know people like to see a little bit of negativity here. I think it's a balance there, but like talking to a salty fan after a game or a salty, Panthers fan, like those are always fun, right?
Another thing I would say though is when you're producing your content on social media, if you're going to train your following to react to your posts, the tone of your post. So if you're giving, for lack of a better word, if you're posting boring things, then you're going to train your following to be disinterested in what you're posting. If you're not posting frequently, you're going to train them to scroll past what you're posting. So I think that's one of the big things is, when you build a consistent brand where you're constantly posting things that are engaging or making people want to stop scrolling, you're training them to follow what you do.
Well, let's talk about some of the content that you guys are creating. And this is where I'm going to bring in the post that we teased earlier, Evan, because I think this is really good, and I'm going to try and bring it in here. Here we go. I think this will work. There it is. So this is how Millbrook's men's basketball schedule got announced. I think the audio will play on this. Let's see. Can y'all hear that audio?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So this is how Evan put together this video for social media to announce Millbrook's basketball schedule for the coming, I guess it's still winter, right? The shortened season. And so it's based off of 2K.
That was really cool.
So how do you come up with this kind of content?
So I would say for sure, it is a copycat industry in regard of inspiration. Big piece of advice, like take inspiration from people. There are amazing creatives out there, but don't just straight up copy it. I've learned that and gone through that type of stuff. But I constantly surf the internet. I surf social media, seeing what I like. With Millbrook, I like to look at different college programs that either have similar color schemes to Millbrook, like a Villanova or a Rhode Island or a Citadel or something like that. I like to look at like some programs that may have like an Adidas deal, because Millbrook wears Adidas. So I like to see like how other teams incorporate that in there. I like a lot of like what Carolina basketball is doing, or a Duke basketball. NC State does some fantastic stuff with their design. So I don't think I took that 2K one, for example, it wasn't inspired from anything, but it was more inspiration from seeing all the unique and creative ways that teams are announcing their schedules. Everybody has a schedule that comes out every season. Every high school team has one. So why not announce it and do something cool with it? That's a big premise of what we do at Millbrook. It's taking this low-hanging fruit that's out there, that is getting a new uniform or giving the kids T-shirts or announcing a schedule release, doing different things like that. Everybody does that. It's when that opportunity comes, I step in and say, okay, how can we amplify that? How can we do that on a level that's bigger than just a high school basketball team? And that's when I go look at what some NBA teams are doing or some college teams are doing. And I'm like, okay, they're being very creative. What's something cool that I could do? And when that idea came to mind, the PS5 had just gotten released, and I was like, everybody was talking about the PS5, and NBA 2K21 was dropping soon. And so I was like, why don't I fire up my PS4 and fire up my 2K20 and see what I could mess around and do? And it ended up leading to that. But, Nick, last week or 2 weeks ago, the NBA dropped their schedules for this season, and they had some fantastic schedule release videos. And so it's a matter of going through those and saying, okay, that's really cool, and that could fit my team or that could fit my brand, and trying to just insert yourself into that scenario.
Gabe, I know you have the PS5 already, so have you gotten any influence of that?
So Nick, I didn't get the PS5, but I had it in my cart. I literally had it in my cart twice, and I went to press checkout, and then it said, "Hey, your item is sold out." But so I was a part of that crew, but I like, that was a really cool video. Like, seeing, I mean, you don't really see that many high schools doing that. And you got to think, like I always say, like, just from a football perspective, I always say, like, the top always copies, the lower league. So the NFL copies college football copies high school, as far as like the play schemes and how they run a certain plays. So if you see a new play going on in the NFL, best believe that started at a high school. So seeing things like that's really cool. But at the same time, like you said, with the schedule releases, I think there are so many different things that occur on a yearly basis: schedule release or playoff push or conference, like that you have to do every year. I mean, it's just a part of what you do. I think you have to look at that and basically say, like, okay, what can I do to continue to make this more creative and bring the best out of that this piece of content, because we're going to have to do it, and everybody is being creative about it, and even everybody's being creative. So why not test the juices and try to figure something out here and make the most of it. So I love what you did right there with that schedule release video.
Well, since I know you're stuck with PS4, let me know when you want to hop on Madden, and we'll run that Panthers Vikings back.
Are we doing current rosters or no?
Yeah, current rosters.
Oh yeah, you'll beat me. But hey, I'm down to play. I am down to play.
I'll text you after this. But how do you decide between a post doing video or photos or a graphic or just text, and how do you know which platforms work best with which?
So I think, I mean, this is something that we've always preached, even when I was in Washington. Video, just like, photos are good. Photos are great. Photos, say 1,000 words, but a video amplifies that even more. Like, people want movement. People want things that like capture their eye. So any chance we get to post a video, we will. Or even like if we post an interception. So like, one of our rookie corners got an interception this past week. And of course we put it in like the 1x1 format, and we posted the picture of him, catching the ball on our Instagram. But if you swipe right, there was a video of that, because like people always want to dive deeper into what's going on. So any chance we get to post a video, any chance you get to post a video, any of these, high school teams, like, post the video over the photo any day of the week. Like if you're doing like, just score updates, yeah, like picture is fine for that. But if you have any kind of highlight, like that goes such a long way with the numbers, the viewership, the algorithms, everything. Just I'm a video guy, so anytime you can post a video, post the video. I mean, if you don't have the video, okay, so be it. But people want movement, so attack the movement.
Evan?
Yeah, I think on Twitter, video and Twitter is very versatile. As I had mentioned earlier, you can put about anything on there in any size. Instagram, I mentioned I'm a big fan of Instagram. That's where you can be really strategic. That's where strategy can lead to success, I guess I would say. People love the good aesthetic and they love the good formatted Instagram layout. And I would say that video dominates on there, but post vertical video. Post it 4x5 or 1x1 instead of a 16x9. And when I say that, like, that means, right now, as you're looking at this, if you're on your computer, you're looking at 16x9. But if you're watching this on your phone, a 4x5 is what I post on Instagram. And that gives you more of like a vertical rectangular look to it. And it fills up your screen when you're scrolling through the app. A quick little story, 2018. I didn't really take Instagram as seriously at the Mudcats. It was obviously a platform we used, but a lot of the times I didn't have dedicated content that belonged on Instagram. And I didn't put a lot of time or effort into running our Instagram. So pretty much anything that went on Twitter or Facebook, I just threw it on Instagram just because I felt like I needed to. And our Instagram, I noticed at year's end, was full of a bunch of graphics. It looked god awful. If you want to go scroll back through it, I'm sorry. It's really bad. But going into 2019, I set it as a goal, like, hey, we're going to post human interest content on our Instagram. We're going to post really good photos and really good videos. And anytime there's a video, we'll do what Gabe said. Like, we'll put a thumbnail on the very first frame of the video so it looks good when people share it to their Instagram story. Or we're going to have a really good thumbnail on it. That goes a long way, not just posting the video to post the video. The thumbnails are so important. Having a good front photo on the swiping carousel post, so important. And I noticed, in 2019 at year's end, our following had grown over 60% on Instagram just because we changed up the style and it was actually appealing. People liked consuming that type of content and that style. So whereas in the past we would have like a graphic that would say Mudcats won 3-2, this time around in 2019, it would be a photo of the player who played best that day. And then when you swiped, you would get the graphic that said 3-2 and it would have the sponsor on it. But when you were scrolling or when you were looking at our feed as a whole, you would notice that, okay, it's a lot more visually appeasing, I would say. And that's very important when I decide what to post.
Yeah. Visual appeasing is the perfect word for everything you just said, because like people want a layout. So if you go to somebody's Instagram, like there's some type of theme, but if you click on the video or if you click on the thumbnail, it's a whole nother video. So it's like, oh my gosh, like I love this page. It's like, man, they the attention to detail. Like, I mean, teams that pay attention to detail, I think those are the teams that do the best on social media. So kudos, Evan.
What are some of the tools that people can use? Because, not everybody is going to know how to use Photoshop and not everybody's going to know how to use Final Cut. There's tools that we use professionally that schools may not have access to or knowledge to use. So are there tools out there that high schools can utilize?
Yeah, I would definitely say while somebody might not know, a beginner may not know a Photoshop or an Adobe Premiere, I also use Adobe Lightroom a lot now for photos. That's how you get a really nice look on your photos. You can doctor it up a little bit. But the Adobe Creative Cloud, a subscription to it is not as intimidating as the price may look, especially if you're investing in it as an athletic department. Most schools may already have an Adobe Creative Cloud account if they have a digital media class or some type of marketing and content creating class. And obviously YouTube is like the savior now for finding out how to do anything. I went on YouTube today to learn how to do something on a video. So I definitely recommend like the industry standard of like the Adobe Creative Cloud, that being Photoshop and Premiere Pro. There may even be discounts for like educators and students, but for athletic departments, if you're looking for a nice, affordable, easy option, kind of like your starter pack to get going, there's an application called Box Out Sports online. It's a subscription-based service. I believe it's $500 a year or around like $60 a month. Box Out Sports provides you with dozens and dozens and dozens of plug-and-play templates that you can just put your school logo, put text, and put video in, and it formats it in a professional graphic. I don't use it, but I know a lot of college athletic departments use it, even at the Division I level. Almost anybody can update it. So all of your coaches can have access and update and make their own graphics. You as an athletic director can do that. It is a one-stop shop for being able to execute graphics really quick. Like I said, I use the Adobe Creative Cloud, so I don't really have a use for it, but that is when people are looking for a quick, efficient way and an affordable way to do that. I've noticed they kind of turn towards that Box Out Sports online templates.
Gabe, are there things that you guys use with the Vikings that high school use?
Well, everything that we pretty much use is Adobe Premiere Pro, and I think if you really want to, invest in the quality of your brand, I think an Adobe Creative Cloud account will be great. Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects. I think just any type of Adobe products, as far as like just editing software, visual effect software, I think that can take your brand a long way. That's what we use in Washington and what we use now. So I had never heard of Box Out Sports, but that seems like a pretty good platform to like for somebody who really wants to just get into it and get content out. But I would just say, like, just for quality, a lot of, your top brands and networks, ESPNs, your Foxes, they're using Premiere Pro. So I think if you want to get your quality up, I really do think the Adobe Creative Cloud is the best way to go. But there are so many other softwares out here that you can, plug and play. Like Evan just said, Box Out Sports, that'll get the job done for you. So I don't think a membership for Adobe Creative Cloud is too crazy. I think it's like $100 a year, and I think that's for up to three users. So I think that's a great thing to invest in if you're an athletic director or if you're a coach and you want to get that access and get that access out now and have somebody who is trained in that field to help you be able to do so. So Adobe Creative Cloud is my recommendation, but if the finances aren't there, I would say there are other options to be more efficient in what you're trying to get across.
Gabe, were you number 10 or number 11 in high school?
10.
So, okay,
I was 10. So yeah, I was 11 my freshman year of college, and then I moved back to 10 when the quarterback graduated.
So I was doing some looking around here on high school.
Wow. Man.
And I found this game. I was going to pull up the Hillside game, but I thought that might bring back bad memories for you. That brings back bad memories for me because it was colder that night than it is tonight in Minnesota.
Yeah. That game was crazy. This game was cold too. I'll never forget this game. Who was the quarterback? I can't think of his name. But these were the days, man. I didn't even know high school. I didn't know we had video during these days.
Yeah, I'm just
amazed. This was
VHS. we also found another thing. This isn't the first time we've had Gabe on to do an interview on High School OT. We actually found this old video.
Wow. Wow.
This was back. I believe this was back when you signed to go to school.
Man, you were probably in the background telling me to put the mic up. Like, hey, you're probably, hey, please put Look at the rookie, man. Like, oh man, this seems like so long ago. I remember this day like it was yesterday, though. That was Kendall Moore that walked by in the background.
We've got music playing now. Let me stop that. Well, I appreciate you guys giving your time tonight to talk about the social media and high school sports. It's very much appreciated. Evan, keep up the good work. Gabe, tell them not to beat the Panthers next time.
we had no business winning that game. Like, you guys gave that game away to us. Throwing the ball. I don't want to bring up any bad memories, so I'll stop talking.
Oh, well, if you pull for the Panthers, you have lots of those, so it's okay. Evan, we won't even bring you in on this one. All right.
Awesome.
I appreciate the time, guys. Thank you for taking the time here on High School OT. And for everybody who's watching, we do have one more High School OT webinar coming your way next week on the 29th, 7 o'clock on High School OT. It'll be me with the entire High School OT team talking about 2020, the year in review, and looking ahead to what we're watching and expecting in 2021. And hopefully 2021 is a lot more predictable than 2020 has been. So thank you to Evan and Gabe for their time tonight. And thank you for watching here on High School OT. For everybody here, I'm Nick Stevens. Have a Merry Christmas.